And then, thirdly, the congressman and that budget committee, they talk about Medicare reform, all right? Medicare reform is discussed in this bill. Now, there is an ad that's running even right now talking about how I want to cut our seniors' Medicare. Absolutely false. Let me tell you what the proposal is and be very clear on it, because there's a ton of misinformation. First off, let's identify what the issue is. This is a CBO chart, Congressional Budget Office chart, that if you look at, this is Social Security spending over time. And you know what, Social Security, that's not a problem. I mean, it's politically maybe tough, but number-wise, it's not that big of a problem to fix. It's very fixable. And then we have Medicaid. But a huge cost driver is Medicare as we project forward. I mean, the bottom line is we have baby boomers in the future coming into the system. The rates are going up about 7% a year in inflation for health, and people live longer. It's a great thing, but numbers go, well, how do you pay for this? What this chart shows is on average, the American government brings in about 19% of taxes per GDP. So 19% of gross domestic product, we're able to bring in tax revenue. That's if you have your taxes up at 90%. If you bring them down to 20%, the phenomenon is you bring in 19% of tax revenue as compared to GDP. And if you look at this, when you hit about 2050, these three programs will consume 100% of all the money that comes into the federal coffers. So the proposal is this. Listen, if you are a senior and you're getting your Medicare, it doesn't change. You get the same program that you have today. If you're actually 55 and older, someone who's not retired yet, but they plan for their retirement with the current system in place, with that, the program doesn't change. So for 55 and older, no changes for you. You get the same thing that's there today. The discussion for reform is for future generations, where we're going to try to inject choice and competition into the system, and we think by doing that we can bring costs down. But it's important to be very clear. People try to scare our seniors and say, good Lord, we want to take away your Social Security and your Medicare. Be afraid. Absolutely false. That is not going to happen, and I'm going to promise you this. I will fight tooth and nail to make sure no one takes anything away from our current seniors. You can't say, I'm sorry, I know you worked your lifetime and you paid into these programs, but now we're going to pull the rug out from under you. We're going to make you go back into the workforce. That would be obscene. That will not happen. I will work my heart out to make sure it doesn't happen. And case in point, to underscore it, do you know how long it takes for us to actually balance this budget? You know how long it takes to get this line to come up and come back down again? It takes 30 years. Do you want to know why it takes so long? It takes so long because we're not willing to cut seniors. If you want to balance it earlier, you could, but you cut our current seniors. We're not going to do that. That's wrong. So we're okay, it's going to take a little more time, but we're going to keep the promises that we've made to our seniors. And with that, you just take a little longer to get there. And I think that's okay. But that's the proposal that's out there right now. And I want to be very clear on that, because fear tactics have been used for far too long to sell people that, you know, the boogeyman wants to take something away from you. That's not the case. The CBO says that Medicare is going to run out of money in the next 9 years. I go, listen, if we do nothing, if we don't reform the program for these future generations, that's where we run into the problem. We don't have any money to pay for these. We need to reform it to make sure we can save it and keep it sustainable. I guess I'm at a point where if this was the House Budget Committee's proposal, I'll look at other proposals. This doesn't have to be the end-all be-all, but let's talk about it and let's try to find out ways that we can fix it and make it work and keep the promises that we've made to people who paid into a system for a lifetime. Let's make sure we keep those promises. That's what I'm about. That's what I'm trying to do, and I'll consider any other good and respectable programs that are there. So there are, so again, this line, it does kick up, and it does come back down in 30 years. There are other plans out there, and I guess before I open up the questions, I think it's, again, important to say, do we have a problem, yes or no? Do we want to address the problem, yes or no? And what do we want to come together with as a community for solutions to fix the problem? Some people have come into the town halls and said, we don't have a problem. There is no debt problem. Well, let me give you just 2 examples recently that will, I think, underscore my point. If you don't want to look at the CBO charts, PIMCO, largest bondholder in the country, spent several months selling U.S. bonds. They've totally taken U.S. bonds out of their portfolio because they're concerned about this. They're concerned about this. Standard & Poor's just yesterday gave us a negative rating on our bonds. So it's still AAA, but it's gone to a negative rating. Yes, it has. And the last time that happened was when we were in the start of World War II and Pearl Harbor was bombed. So people are concerned about this debt. I think we should too. And with that, we should start the conversation. So I don't mean to be gloom and doom on a cold April day, but I think we can, well, not maybe warm for April, but I think we can address it. So with that, do you guys have any questions for me? You had one?
Yeah, what would the savings be if Medicare could bargain for drug prices the same way that Medicaid and the VA do? Well, like, why can't we use our collective purchasing power to drive drug prices down?
Well, one of the arguments for the Medicare portion when we're purchasing drugs is it came in 40% under projections because we're able to go in and use the free market to buy drugs. And this is when we go, listen, does anyone have Medicare Advantage in the room? I mean, some people, do you enjoy it? Do you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people who have had Medicare Advantage like it. And it's almost a premium support where you're able to come in and if you want to get something else with your Medicare, you can add into a certain set of programs and get something more.
So are you saying that drugs are cheaper under Medicare Advantage than they are by using our collective? Medicaid and the VA get cheaper drugs than our seniors do. That's a fact.
My point was that if you look at the projections of the cost of that program, they've come in 40% under the projections.
I don't understand your answer.
Well, we had projections of what the program was going to cost.
Of which program?
As a Medicare Part D.
Are you? I guess my question is very simple.
What?
If we use the federal government's purchasing power in the same way that we currently do it with Medicaid and the Veterans Administration, it's a fact that those programs get pharmaceutical drugs much cheaper than Medicare.
I'm all about competition. I mean, and bargaining power. That's why I think, yeah, I'd support that.
It's not about competition. It's about bargaining power.
Sure.
Why can't we do that?
You know what? I don't know. I'll take a look at it.
That?
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I'll see if we have any bills out there to encourage that. Yeah, but I even say we want bargaining power. We want competition. All those things together. I'll take a look at it, and if you give me your email address, give me a few weeks, and I'll get back to you on it.
Well, you should know, I mean, we used to be able to do that until, I think it was in 2002 or 2003 when Congress took that ability of the federal government away. They legislated that away through the lobbying efforts of the drug companies, that we could not buy in volume and get a cheaper price. They had to pay the price. I mean, if you look back at the history of the because Medicare used to do it that way.
Yeah.
And it used to be a lot cheaper to buy drugs before that.
I will
cost the government and us a lot less money before that
Yeah.
legislation.